Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population and with little or no meaningful engagement leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.
Nigeria is confronting an intensifying flood crisis in 2025, marked by unprecedented rainfall, infrastructure failures, and systemic vulnerabilities. The most devastating incident occurred in May of this year when the town of Mokwa in Niger State was overwhelmed by floods, resulting in over 500 fatalities and of course, the displacement of thousands. This event underscores a broader national emergency with over 70,000 Nigerians affected by floods this year alone. The escalating flood crisis or flood risk are driven by a combination of climate change, rapid urbanization, and governance challenges. Now, despite early warnings from agencies like the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, that's NIMET, and the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, there's NISA, the country's response remains largely reactive. Experts argue that a comprehensive, proactive flood management strategy is urgently needed to mitigate future disaster. It's a wonderful episode on your favorite primetime show, Ways. My name is Osayome Sali, and today our conversation will center around the issues on the latest development regarding Nigeria's growing flood challenges. Now, remember, Ways is all about you. You are the wine Ways, so be a part of the conversation every single day by adding your voice to the discussion. Head on to our YouTube channels at Official Upgrade TVs at hit the subscribe button, like, share, invite your families and friends to also join the live show right now. And when I open the phone lines, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. As always, let me allow you to ponder on this quote for the day. It says, "The problem is not in the prediction. It is the non-response and lack of proactive measures." And this was from Clement Nze, the former Director General of the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency. People do not really just, they are not proactive. We rather would react to things instead of us, thinking steps ahead. So we'll delve into the conversation around flooding in Nigeria. But first, let me run off on a break. When I come back from that break, I'll let you in on my news interest for the day. Stay with me.
Life is made up of moments, some that fill us with joy, others that test our strength. Welcome to Heartlights. This is our space to explore the highs and lows of human connection, the love, the heartbreak, and resilience that shapes our life. From relationships to friendships, parenting
to partnerships, and so much more. Every week, we share stories and conversations that define us, navigating love, separations, the struggles of parenting, dealing with anxiety and managing the pressures and stress of life. Real conversations that bring us closer, helping us heal, grow, and connect. So join me Mondays through Fridays at 10 p.m. for Heartlines, the show where we connect hearts, have real conversations with real people, one story at a time.
Okay, so Kano State Commissioner resigns after drug baron bail probe. He's a commissioner for transportation, and his name is Alhaji Ibrahim Namadi. He resigned from his position just hours after the governor, Abba Yusuf, received the report of the investigative committee probing his involvement in the controversial bail of a suspected drug baron, Suleiman, of the investigative Dangwau, right? His sensitive nature of the matter. Namadi thanked the state governor, Abba Yusuf, for the opportunity to serve the state, reaffirming his dedication to the principles of good governance and responsible leadership. The statement further noted that the governor had accepted Namadi's resignation. If we recall, the Kano state government had received report of the fact-finding committee investigates the alleged involvement of Namadi in securing the bail of a suspected drug baron. And so they concluded that the commissioner acted negligently and therefore culpable when he volunteered to stand as surety for Dangwawu without conducting proper due diligence. I think this is good because, again, what would I say? It's one of the things that we always say that, once there is questions or something questioning your integrity as a person, especially when you hold public offices, the best thing to do is just step aside. No matter how juicy the position is, no matter how great, everything is working, that shows you have a little bit of, dignity in you left. And I think this is a good, for me, I would say that this is a good step in the right direction, and this is what we always say, call for public officials. I don't know why it is so difficult for you to tender resignation. Under your leadership, people are probably embezzling money. You can't turn a blind eye and say, no, I was not part of it. No, as long as you were in charge, and anything goes wrong underneath, your leadership, then you should be responsible enough. You should have the dignity enough to want to, take full responsibility. First thing to do is to even just say, you know what, tender resignation. That is how it's supposed to be. So I commend him. I mean, he didn't do his due diligence. He didn't do proper checks before standing as surety for someone. But I commend his, the step he has taken, to just try to also mitigate the situation. So this is a good step in the right direction. And I'm hoping that, because Kano State has really suffered from a lot of drug use and abuse in that state. So I'm hoping that, this will be the beginning of, cleaning up Kano State and, of course, the young people, ridding them of any form of, drugs and abuse of drugs. All right, so I'll move on to my next story. This one, I just off when I saw it. So the permanent secretary, Office of Drainage Services and Water Resources in Lagos State, Mahmoud Adegbite, has said that the people drilling borehole in the Lekki axis of the state is probably drinking feces water. While speaking at a stakeholder meeting in the state, Recently, Adegbite noted that contaminated boreholes in Lekki pose health risk and added that treatment of wastewater would eradicate any form of the disease that may arise from it. He added that the government still has a lot to do to tackle flooding in the state, saying all of this. It said, like for instance, he said yesterday it rained heavily, which is unusual because this is supposed to be August break. Oh. In fact, this August break, it is August downpour we have been seeing. He said, however, however, we started having it because of a lot of complex issues, basically in terms of flooding. Despite the fact that we have committed so much, we still need to do a lot in that space. And I'm thinking, yeah, we need to speak to all of these people because that's the reality. Should we just take a listen to the video?
Good morning. Just to add to Mr. Chairman, sir, Deputy, sir. If you recall, you chaired the meeting we had on the challenges along Coastal Road, the flooding challenges. So it's one of the major things that we are hoping to resolve. And also, yesterday it rained heavily, which is unusual because, again, this is supposed to be August break. However, we've started having it because of a lot of complex issues. So basically, in terms of flooding, despite the fact that we have committed so much, however, we still need a lot to do in that space. Presently, also, on the wastewater treatment, I will say that everyone digging any borehole within Lekki axis is probably drinking what I will call shit water, kind of. However, if we're able to treat all the wastewater within this axis, which we have plans for, should be able to also make sure that we eradicate any form of disease that might result as a result of non-treatment of our waste.
So that video was courtesy of Channels Television. Is that shit water that just offed me? I say, ew. If you see the kind of water I'm seeing, in fact, I have a video of the water that I saw today in my office, in my bathroom. Horrible water, as brown as coffee. I don't know how we're going to solve this problem, but we have a long way to go. All right, so I'll move on to my final story. This is quite disturbing. So Rwanda will allow teenagers as young as 15 years old to access contraception after approving a new law to tackle teenage pregnancy. That, of course, this sparked divided opinion in the largely conservative country. The Central African nation of about 13 million people, 40% of whom are aged under 15, has been worried by rampant teenage pregnancy, but faced resistance to its plan to widen access to contraception. Lawmakers passed the Health Care Service Bill, lowering the legal age to access contraceptive from 18 to 15 without parental consent. The Health Ministry said that the previous age limit fueled high rates of unintended teen pregnancy, which topped 22,000 cases last year. And that's the national figures, according to the national figures, right? The law had been before Parliament since last year and was rejected once. Now, the legislation allows teens to access pills and implants, but lawmakers insisted that condoms should be prioritized. I don't know who I'm going to call for this conversation, but I think I need to call somebody to have this conversation. Because 15, I don't even want to think it as a parent. I'm sorry. I don't want to think it. I don't have daughters, though. Even the sons that I have, I don't want to think it. Because for you to even indulge in any form of coitus, I mean, how do they call the thing? For you to get involved in any form of sexual activity, you have to be mature enough to understand the emotions that comes with that. A 15-year-old, what are you doing having sex in the first place? So I would not even have this conversation. I need to find someone that can help me make it make sense. I know that a lot of young people are having unprotected sex. They are getting pregnant and all of that. I understand that challenge, but I don't think lowering the age of contraception should be what will solve that problem. There's supposed to be a lot of work to be done. This is us fighting. We need to understand that some of these things need to be fought from a moral standpoint, from a family standpoint. That is where that battle will be won. Because again, I can't even picture my 15-year-old having sex. It's not possible. I don't know. Let me not. People will say, "Well, don't brag, you're not there." But I'm just saying, it doesn't make any sense for a 15-year-old. Now, what are you supposed to be thinking at 15? You know. But then again, there are some countries where 13-year-olds are already married, so you would understand. But I'm saying that if there is a high case of teenage pregnancy, then contraception shouldn't be what you should be focusing on. There has to be other alternatives to be able to solve that problem. It means that there's a fundamental problem that needs to be addressed. You're talking about contraception. What about sexually transmitted diseases? Are we forgetting that, AIDS is real? Are we forgetting all of those things? So there are other things to worry about. There are so many things to worry about. So what you're saying, you want to lower the age of contraception, for me, I don't think I agree with it. I would have been one of the people that would oppose this kind of bill if I was, a Rwandan and I was probably one of their lawmakers. I would not accept this kind of bill. But hey, we'll find somebody to probably help us understand it, and how do we start to tackle the issue. It's not just even in Rwanda. Across everywhere right now, young people are indulging, and most of them, because of the naivety that they have, most of them are getting pregnant, and all of that. So we'll try to find a solution. And I don't even think condom is the solution either. Abstinence for me is supposed to just be the best solution. Just don't do it until you are fully mature enough to handle the consequences that comes with sex. Period. All right, so I'll take a break. When I come back, I'll take, of course, the conversation around flooding. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Tell us you're a Nigerian without saying a word. Energy security is one of the most pressing issues for many developing countries like Nigeria. And if there's going to be any meaningful progress, addressing our energy issues is non-negotiable.
I need to see light from my house. Make them do something.
Band A is expensive. I literally have to turn off all my appliances just to reduce costs.
We need light.
Introducing the Energy Outlook, your go-to show for everything energy. Every week, we'll bring you the latest insights, innovation, and in-depth analysis of Nigeria's energy sector. From policy discussions to regulatory insights, we will analyze the key decisions influencing growth and sustainability in the energy sector. We'll bring you the human stories behind the headlines, giving you a personal perspective on the broader energy challenges. Join me every Friday at 6 p.m. for the Energy Outlook, your guide to the future of energy, where energy means business.
All right, so flooding in Nigeria is primarily driven by poor infrastructure, unregulated urban growth, there's deforestation, climate change, and weak disaster management systems. Tackling it requires both environmental and policy-based solutions, including improved urban planning, investment in drainage system, public awareness, and regional cooperation on dam management. So the federal government, through the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, that's NIMET, has issued a public weather alert warning Lagos residents of anticipated heavy rainfall over the next 5 days. And this advisory highlights the increased likelihood of flash floods, traffic disruption, and potential infrastructure strain, particularly in flood-prone areas. So authorities are urging the public to take necessary precautions as the state prepares for days of persistent rainfall and unsettled weather conditions. Do we take the audio of this video for a second, then I'll come back?
See my shop, oh Jesus, Jesus, eh? Eh? Jesus Christ, oh. Hey, I bet now where I won't start from. Where I won't start from. Eh? Where? Oh, now see me, oh. Where I won't start from.
Yeah, these are some of the videos, as you can see. I just thought for us to watch them so we understand. Now, let me give key reasons why we have floods in Nigeria. The first one would be that we have very poor urban planning and drainage systems. So many Nigerian cities lack proper drainage infrastructure, right? Construction on natural waterways would always block free flow of water. If you go and check a lot of developments that have happened, right? You will see a lot of sand filling, some of all of these properties. I remember at some point, Lagos State government, they were demolishing houses along those, those waterways and the drainages, right? Because people would just go and build houses around the canals. Those canals are there for a reason, because they're supposed to be places where, if there's a flood, water should move towards that place and kind of like flow it out into the ocean. But we don't have that. So construction on natural waterways, it will always block the free flow of water. Unplanned settlements, right, often spring up in flood-prone areas. If you check the construction that is going on across Nigeria, you would see that those places that are highly flood-prone, there's no proper town planning. We don't have a proper town planning structure that, where everybody, because again, if you look at the way, construction is supposed to be in an urban city or even any city at all, right? You are supposed to have proper structures, proper road network, proper drainage, accommodation and all of that. You just see people just come, this is my plot, bam, I build. There is no plan. If you look at even the houses in that Moka area in Kogi, you will see that they are almost like clusters of houses. There is no proper plan. So when you have unplanned settlement, right, it will often, right, result to massive flooding, especially in flood-prone areas. Another reason would be heavy rain and climate change. As you heard the commissioner say, that we are in August. We're supposed to be having August break. But hey, guess what? We've been having August downpour, because normally by climate, plan, we're supposed to be on a break. But the break, if I recall correctly, that break came in July. So there's a lot of things happening with our climate. And that's why when you hear people talking about climate change, it's not just people that they just feel like talking. If you check, the weather is a lot hotter when the sun is out. Sometimes you're feeling cold. It's just so many distortions. You can't really even check what weather we are in right now, right? So Nigeria experiences intense seasonal rainfall, especially between June and October. So that's supposed to be the given. June, July, August, September, October, right? That is supposed to be the given. But a lot of climate change issues has increased the frequency and the intensity of rainfall, leading to more flash floods. That's what we're seeing, as opposed what it was before. We used to, we could predict a lot of things before, but now we don't do that. Another thing, if we recall what had happened some years ago when the dam was released, right? There's always overflow of rivers and dams. So rivers like the Niger River, Benue, often overflow during rainy seasons, right? And the release of dam, the one especially, that's one. There's the Lagdo Dam in Cameroon. Without adequate warning or preparedness, all of those things will cause a downstream massive flooding. That's what will happen when we start to have floods, dam releases like that. And when we have massive rainfall, most of those rainfall would increase the water level in our rivers. There was a time one year, I can't remember what year was that, I was on Kara Bridge. That entire bridge was submerged in water. Because when the rains are not high, you wonder, why is this bridge this high? When I saw that, I now knew that, whoa, so that bridge is not a mistake. Because if you really want to look at the water level, the water submerged the bridge. We were driving inside river on that bridge. So this is what we see, most times. One of the biggest challenges that I have studied in Nigeria is our waste management system. It's our waste management system. Because I feel like other parts of the world where they experience floods and all of that, it might be that, okay, those people, what's the word I'm looking for now? Natural disaster. But anything that has to do with Nigeria, because to some extent we are blessed enough to not have those extreme weather conditions or extreme things that happen to other parts of the world. So one of the biggest challenges that we see that causes this flooding that we see in the country is our waste management. We have very, very poor waste management. Drainage channels are often clogged. If you go to some drainage channels, you see it is packed with plastic and other kinds of waste, blocking that free flow of water and causing flooding during rainstorms. You go on, I don't know about other parts of Nigeria because I have not, really stayed long enough at other parts of Nigeria. But just take Lagos as a typical example. You see this season now, you will see a lot of clearing of gutters, and they will put the heap by the side. If you take a picture of what those things that have been inside that gutter, what they look like. Some of them, it's alarming because it actually can fill up a truck. That is what has clogged the gutter. So tell me how those drainages would flow, right? And I would even say that apart from the fact that the drainages are clogged, if you look at the level of the road, right? I've studied a lot of roads in this Lagos, and I've noticed that sometimes the drainages are higher than the road, and it's not supposed to be. The road is supposed to be at a level where it flows towards the drainage, but that's not what we see. So what exactly are they constructing? I saw a video just this evening, where a man was pointing out already what's it called? Was it erosion that is already eating up this new Lagos Calabar coastal range, the road that they have not even launched. The erosion is already eating it by the side, and it was already calling the attention of the developer or the construction company to pay attention, and of course the minister, that this is what is happening. This already will tell you that in another 2-3, what is 2 years? Maybe another rain cycle, that road will fail. So these are the issues that we have. Deforestation, go and check now. We don't have trees. Loss of vegetation, due to logging and land development. All of this has reduced the ability for our lands to absorb rainfall, and most of those water increasingly runs off. See what is happening. A lot of all these parts where they say, oh, land, land, land. And these lands are so expensive. I was having a conversation with someone today, and the person was saying that, oh, let us be praying, that one day, because one day we can wake up and the whole of this Lekki will be underwater. Because most of these lands are all, waterlogged, that were sand filled, right? Most of these things, so they are not even able, in fact, there's a lot that is happening, right? And if we really must look at some of the challenges, apart from these things that I have mentioned, many communities, as much as you hear NIMET shouting and the other one talking, many communities are still not adequately informed or prepared for the impending flood, right? Because we have very weak, information dissemination structure in Nigeria. People are still, as we speak, a lot of people still do not understand or do not know what is going on. So what is our national orientation agencies? What are they doing? NIMET is shouting every day, but how many people understand what NIMET is saying? Has it been broken down in different languages? Because I said it that if those people in that Mokwa local government area in Kogi State, if they had known that that flood would be that devastating, that it was spoken to them, communicated and everything, I do not think anybody would want to risk, staying in that place. I would think that they would want to leave that place. And especially because we have weak institutional responses, right? It's not like if it happens now, immediately people will, you will see the emergency response team and all of that evacuating people. We have very weak response situation. So that even further worsens the impact of the flood when it does occur. So that is why proactiveness is our solution to anything flooding in Nigeria, because we do not have the capacity to be able to rescue people, many people from the situation if it gets to that level. So instead of doing that, why don't we invest in the orientation agencies, different people saying it in different languages, in different localities, in different communities. Let them be adequately informed and prepared, because it's going to happen. It's not a God forbid situation. So let me just give you a little bit of statistics of what I found, right? In 2024, the floods affected over 5.2 million individuals, displacing over 1.2 million people across 35 states and 401 local government areas. Now, this disaster resulted in 1,237 deaths and left 16,469 individuals injured. Also, 116,172 houses were destroyed, and 1.4 million, 39,296 hectares of farmlands were affected, further worsening the economic and humanitarian impact of flooding across the country. These numbers are not just figures, these are alarming figures, right? Because if we really want to break down the details of this growing flood challenges in Nigeria, the severity and the scope of the flooding nationwide, they say as at 2025, right? As of this 2025, flooding has affected 30 out of 36 states in Nigeria. And the Federal Capital Territory displacing millions, and an estimated 15 million people are at high risk of flooding, with over 2,000 communities facing moderate to severe flood risk. This is as of 2025. 30 out of the 36 states, and the FCT, an estimated 15 million people are at high risk. 15 million is not a small number. And over 2,000 communities, they would face moderate to high severe flood risk. And they say that the rainy season, which continues through October, significantly raises that flood risk. Additionally, heavy downpour, poor drainage, and urbanization exacerbates the severity of the flood. And again, this will happen in major cities like Lagos, Abuja, and Kano. I've mentioned Mokwa, what happened, right? The flash flood that overwhelmed over overwhelmed the town and causing over 500 deaths and displacing thousands of people. If you look at that Mokwa, the town's infrastructure, bridges, roads, and all of that, most of them were heavily damaged. And if we check what the impact is right now, they have a lot of issues around food security, right? It has impacted them because a lot of their farmlands were destroyed. That's Mokwa alone in Kogi State. In Kwara State, Rivers State and Kwara State, right? Rivers had torrential rain that caused landslide that buried homes, claiming about 25 lives. Kwara State, on the other hand, the release of the water from the Jeba hydroelectric dam in April triggered widespread flooding, affecting over 6,400 people and destroying crops. So these things are not just figures, these are numbers. This flood has led to significant loss of life and over 1,200 deaths. In various regions, over 200,000 people have been displaced, with many more facing homelessness and uncertainty. Over 10,000 hectares of land, farmland, have been destroyed. And this is also now exacerbating the food insecurity that we're already facing. Apart from the one that bandits are causing and all this insecurity is causing, there's one that, flooding is also causing. And communities in flood-prone areas, right, they're facing issues around crop failure, livestock being swept away. They have even their livestock facing some kind of disease. They have issues around waterborne diseases. All this is happening. And these flood waters are breeding ground for cholera, typhoid, malaria. All of these things would eventually now lead to more death. So even if the flood does not kill you, the impact of the flood, right, would unalive a lot of people. So we can't just keep quiet and say that, oh, this thing is happening in one region or the other. We have to be intentional about proactivity. We have to be proactive. We need to stop this reactive measure all the time. I hear that Nigeria introduced a national flood insurance program to help households, farmers, and businesses to recover from this flood damage. And this pilot program was launched in Kogi and Jigawa states. How far that has gone, I do not know. The UN also, they allocated about $5 million from its Central Emergency Fund to support Nigerian flood preparedness effort. Now, the funding is supposed to be aimed at improving early warning systems and of course, to prepare communities and give the, the first responders ability to be able to respond, the capacity to respond. How well they are doing, we do not know. Let's go on a break. When we come back from that break, we'll continue the conversation. Stay with us.
Life is made up of moments, some that fill us with joy, others that test our strength. Welcome to Heartlines. This is our space to explore the highs and lows of human connection, the love, the heartbreak, and resilience that shapes our life. From relationships to friendships, parenting to partnerships, and so much more. Every week, we share stories and conversations that define us, navigating love, separations, the struggles of parenting, dealing with anxiety and managing the pressures and stress of life. Real conversations that bring us closer, helping us heal, grow, and connect. So join me Mondays through Fridays at 10 p.m. for Heartlines, the show where we'll connect hearts, have real conversations with real people, one story at a time.
All right, thanks for staying tuned. Now, if you just tuned in, we're having a conversation on the latest updates on flooding across Nigeria and the growing challenges. Now, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. Our phone lines also open. 07025007749 or 0701424242. Recently, right, the National Economic Council approved the release of intervention funds to support nationwide flood mitigation and response efforts. Now, they call them the NEC. They approved the disbursement of about $3 billion each to 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. 1.5 billion to the Federal Ministry of Budget and National Planning, and 1.5 million to the Federal Ministry of Environment. 1.5 billion again to the Federal Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation, and 10 billion to the National Emergency Management Agency. So for this year, the flood has, of course, affected over 20 states, 134,435 people across 20 states, and about 47 local government areas. I think for us to actively address the growing flood challenges in Nigeria, the government needs to adopt a comprehensive, multifaceted approach that combines immediate response measures, of course, because the rains are here. It's not like it's going to happen next year. So we already have, so we need some immediate measures, right? We also need long-term flood mitigation strategies. And this is not just like we're talking 2 years, 3 years. No. What is the plan? So if at all buildings that have to go down so that proper road constructions can happen and drainages can happen, then it must happen. I've been driving around the Ikeja area of Lagos, right, especially the Allen, Okpebi, and all of that, and I've seen how far the government has gone in terms of expanding the the drainage, the drainages around those main highway, because all those areas, whenever it rains, there's always going to be certain level of flooding that happens, right? So there has to be some immediate response, then it has to be also some long-term strategies, and all of these things must happen, simultaneously, because as it stands now, we really don't have that luxury to say, okay, let's wait and plan towards next year, because it's already, the rain is upon us. And that video also, I mean, that's just one out of many. I've seen the one in Benin, horrible. I mean, flood and Benin. I think I have what do they call that thing? When you have a trauma. I have a trauma just remembering and recalling my experience as a child, going to Benin when the flood, the rain and all of that. You see all the red water everywhere, like your car is submerged, you're panting, you're having a panic attack, because you don't know what to do, because that problem has been there. And I'm trying to understand why we are unable to find lasting solutions. Now, you see all these funds that have been mentioned, 3 billion to the states, each state, 1.5 billion to the agency, to this, to that, to the ministry, to this, then 10 billion to the management agency. All of those things I don't think are the solution to the challenges that we have, right? Because again, I've said it several times that when we have a problem, it is not throwing money at it that will solve that problem. When we have a problem, we need to first of all understand how this problem came about, because I think we do not have the patience as leaders or as Nigerians to sit down and think it through. How did we get to this point? Like, if we trace that problem to the root cause, then it is easier for us to work our way back to a solution, as opposed just saying, okay, you're having flood issues, take 10 billion. You're having flood issues, take 3 billion. It doesn't work that way, right? It doesn't work that way. We need to be a lot more creative in solving our problems. So one of the biggest things that I have seen, as I've said before, waste management, right? What would it take for the government to start to put laws around, indiscriminate waste disposal? Like you're on the road, you take down your window, throw it. There was a time where that thing was illegal in this country. At least I was alive. And I was born by then when that thing was illegal for you to just bring down the window of your car and toss things out of the window. In buses, in public buses, you would have waste bins, right, that would, collect trash. But now you see people, in public transports, buying all sorts of things, as soon as they are done with it, they dump it they throw it on the floor. These are part of the issues. These are why we have a lot of issues around clogged drainages, right? There was a time where people would come to your house, and if your drainage in front of your house is clogged, right, there will be a penalty for that. Because there is the part of, what's it called, nature, but there's also the part of nurture. And that nurture would happen because human beings decided that they want to nurture what they have. And that's where we need to get to, where we now all take responsibility, right, for the issues that is happening. Because these things will not stop. It will continue to happen. And the more it happens, the more we all, we are all at risk. If you look at the environmental and climate change factors, right, around flooding, you will see that the extreme weather events, right, there's a frequency and intensity of flooding that has increased in recent years. And this is purely due to climate change, right? You see rising temperatures that is caused by erratic rainfall patterns, right? You see a lot of times that erratic rainfall would lead to longer period of droughts. So you see that you're expecting rains and you're not seeing the rain. Then once the drought stops, it then comes with heavy downpour, right? So all of these things are part of why when it then comes, it comes as a flood. So if a government was serious about these things, there's so many things that we can do. How about us starting to plant trees? To say, okay, you know what? We were the ones that cut down our trees. Let's start to plant trees back. Because you see, there's something around, I'm not 100%, what's it called, an agriculturalist, or be whatever. But I did a little bit of agriculture. You see those things, the roots and all of those things, the things that are inside the soil, all of those things are part of the things that create some kind of, would I call them, absorbers that absorbs water into the. We don't see all of that right now. Once water comes, it just goes and glides on the ground as if it is a cement floor. So all of these things we need to be intentional about, changing the game, and we can change the game by us first of all taking responsibility of our environment, right? Let's start to go back to those days where I come out from my gate and my drainage is cleared. I don't have to wait for anybody because nobody is supposed to come and clear that for you. You are supposed to be the one to clear that by yourself. Then you are going on the road. You do not trash things anyhow. You actually look for those waste bins and you then put them, because these things are very important, right? They are very important. I would like to say that to effectively address the growing flood challenges in Nigeria, the government needs to adopt as I said, the long-term approach, the short-term approach. Now, the action would be that the government should invest heavily in advanced meteorological and hydrological technology to provide accurate and timely flood forecasts. And this would enable affected communities to receive early warnings and prepare adequately for it. So a nationwide real-time flood alert system. So it's not just saying that, oh, NIMET has been, how is it real-time and how is it nationwide? How is it getting to everybody? So maybe we should adopt things like maybe SMS, I don't know, mobile apps, local radio, like literally engage the media, right? That could help with to just sensitize people at a blast. So what are the core media outfits that people listen to across all the states? They should be running jingles in all languages, talking about, oh, this is coming, and that can drastically reduce casualties. Now, if early warning happens, let me tell you why it matters, right? If early warning systems happen, it will definitely save lives, because it will enable people to evacuate those areas before, the flood becomes deadly, And these are what a lot of countries have adopted. Countries like Bangladesh, they've seen success with similar systems. And if we are to find solutions to our problem, the best thing to do is to go to other places that have gotten it right. So Nigerians can actually learn and strengthen that, that system of alerting people. And they can also be intentional about modernizing the drainage infrastructure. Some of our drainage infrastructure are quite archaic, as I said before. If you even look at the structure of the road and where the drainage is, it's not aligned. The road cannot, the road has to slide towards the drainage so that when the water actually comes, it flows towards the drainage. So I don't know what's, the construction that is going on, because if you look at cities like Lagos, Kano, Abuja, right? If you check most of their drainages right now, most of them are actually outdated and they are poorly maintained, and that's the reality. And this is even leading more to the what's it called, the flood that we're seeing. So if we are not able to just even fix our drainages, right, that is a major contributor to flash floods. And because these areas that I've mentioned are densely populated, it even makes the situation very worse. So if the government has to be serious about this thing, instead of investing money in that Calabar coastal range, the government should be prioritizing construction of modern, sustainable drainage systems in urban centers and rural areas. And this is simple. Upgrade the existing ones, build new ones, as opposed to just building the roads that we're not even sure what would happen. Right? If we have effective drainage systems, right, it will prevent a lot of flooding. It will also prevent the disruption, a lot of flooding. It will also prevent the disruption of daily lives. Look at what has happened to that lady's shop. It will prevent damages, that is what it would eventually happen. So we have to prevent, we must, what's it called? The pressures, especially for flood-prone areas, reduce it. So reduce it by putting in the right infrastructure, so that, because it's not a function of if, maybe, it's not an if or maybe, because so that when the flood comes, those infrastructure will be able to withstand the challenges that will come. The government there has to be a huge investment in large-scale environmental restoration projects. So I've said it before, I will say it again. Reforestation, wetland rehabilitation, soil conservation programs. Because your soil is meant to absorb this water. But our soils, they are no longer absorbing water. We don't know what we did to them. So all of these things, you must be intentional about protecting and restoring natural water systems. So like your rivers, your lakes, your floodplain, all of those things. You have to be intentional. And most of these things, that's why sometimes when I hear that the Lagos State government is destroying or demolishing properties, I do not fight them on that, because those properties were not meant to be there in the first place. That's why we're having issues, right, with what we are having. So all of these things are challenges, that are, there, they exist. And we're hoping that the government would really find a solution to it. And if we look at this thing, it is affecting, our food production. In fact, that is even one of the ultimate reasons why the growing flood challenges in Nigeria has to be addressed. Because agriculture is the backbone of the Nigerian economy, especially for rural communities, right? If you make farming a lot more resistant farmers or farmlands a lot more resistant to flood, you can help to prevent food insecurity by a very large percentage. You're not only doing that, you're preserving livelihood, you're ensuring that communities can recover more quickly, after any flood event. So it's not a feel good thing, or it's a nice to do thing. No, it's a matter of urgency and it's a matter of importance. The government must really prioritize how to mitigate these challenges. And I said it before, because we are not part of those communities where they have extreme weather conditions. I think our flood situation are largely, I dare say, they are largely man-made. So if they are man-made, it means that we can actually mitigate it and we can find permanent and lasting solutions to the challenges that we face, especially with flooding in Nigeria. So the Nigerian government, you need to implement a holistic flood management strategy that combines infrastructural development, environmental protection, early warning systems, as I said, public education, and of course, climate change adaptation. So only through a coordinated, multi-pronged approach can Nigeria mitigate the devastating effects of flooding and protect its citizens, our economy as well, our natural resources, our food, everything, like from future flood disasters. And that is where I would wrap up the conversation today. So I hope they're listening, and I hope, we will start to see proactive measures, especially as regards flooding in Nigeria. Again, thank you so much for watching. Before I go, ensure you follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV. Follow us across all our channels that we display on the screen. If you missed our quote for today, it says, "The problem is not in the prediction. It is the non-response and lack of proactive measures," and it's simple. So it means that our challenges are actually solvable. It's not like other parts of the world where they have, things that they cannot control. They call them force majeure, like, the weather situation. We have, and we can control it. So let us find those solutions. See you guys tomorrow, 8 p.m. Enjoy the rest of your evening.